Top 5 worst things President Christ has done. Hello, subbers. Today I will be going over the top 5 worst things Jesus Christ has done, limited specifically to his 8-year term as POTUS. Ranked subjectively, as there is no worse atrocity than another, so to speak. With that in mind, starting out at number 5, we got number 5, sinking island territories. At the beginning of 2017, around a year after Christ came into office, he ordered multiple islands off the coast of North America, all with rich ecosystems and diverse communities, to be sunk via explosion for the purpose of appeasing shareholders in the oil rig manufacturing business. A mixture of language barriers and lack of infrastructure led to the people living on these islands being left behind and subsequently murdered by third-party demolition crews armed with guns like AK-47s and Desert Eagles. One anonymous formerly captured survivor recounts an incident where a mercenary hired to oversee the demolition of one desert island had a violent post-traumatic episode that resulted in the midnight deaths of all the other demolition workers, as well as the desecration of a modest flooded ruin off the bay. This desecration has not been adequately documented, though heavily improper use of the available bombs is widely theorized. An estimated 556 islands in, around, and adjacent to the U.S.'s claim were sunk in this unprecedented genocide. When asked about it, President Christ said the following: when I signed that, I was thinking of the islands in space and how they are drunk to be sunk. Nothing's better than that. I wasn't thinking too hard, to be honest. It was a hasty decision in all my Christian honesty. Perhaps I was under the influence of the blood, chuckles, with not enough body to balance it out, if you know what I mean. End quote. The reporter for the New York Times, Jack Koch, did not know what he meant. 8 million people were killed in the sinking of these island territories. Number 4, covert human meat programs, or C.H.M.Ps. In October of 2020, President Christ presented a plan to feed the millions of starving American citizens, as well as individuals in colonized territories. This plan involved using the raw material from corpses of victims of Christ's multiple genocidal decrees. This raw material was processed into everyday foods like hot dogs, hamburgers, White Castle sliders, bacon, refried beans, and countless other processed goods. This low-quality food was then served back to the impoverished many as a substitute for meat, known as Beyond Meat. They lied and said it was vegan, when it was the furthest thing from humane. You think it's bad when a bearded, burly husband drips beef fat onto his vegan wife's zucchini? This is that times a billion, because it is human flesh that we, as a society, have ingested, and it traumatized us. No one can look each other in the eye. There's this massive, stinking shame in the air. Now just imagine that. Those in the Biden verse. Can you imagine that? No! Chances are you have no idea in hell how it felt to eat people, millions of people. Excuse me, I got a little overboard and off script there. All in all, the 3 years of forced cannibalism that we, tens of millions of people, endured will never leave the cultural memory. If you want to train to become a therapist, now is the profitable time. 3. Irresponsible research methods of the chemical ghost of Chicago. In October of 2023, President Christ deployed teams of unlicensed researchers guarded by third-party militia groups that were later found to be armed with weapons unfit for the site, such as grenades and even small rockets. The chemical ghost of Chicago exhibits extreme radiation, so protective suits are required at all times. The structure itself actually has no mass, hence ghost. So hovering research vessels were required as well, though now President Pattinson has deemed the chemical ghost unfit for any person to be within 150 miles of. The disaster I've been talking around is indeed the largest nuclear accident ever recorded in the months following Charlie Kirk's attack on Chicago, which caused the chemical ghost. It had reached a place of stability. One of these teams of researchers dispatched by President Christ ended up finding what one might refer to as the core or nucleus of Chicago's new form. A description of this nucleus was transmitted via an immediate upload to the cloud moments before the disaster. The description reads as thus: what I'm looking at is a floating orb about 10 to 12 feet off the ground, around about where West Randolph Street used to be. I don't know if it was a street or an avenue. Anyway, the orb is glowing bright white and green, like everything else, but it's hard to explain. Like black flecks, I'd say it's like worms, or they're moving like spiders. I'm not sure. It's about 15 feet in circumference all around. It's almost hypnotizing. At this moment, a researcher named Alan Jacket grabbed what was hastily described by a man rescued from the site as a big old red hammer before the rescue man died. And his name was Alan Coate. Anyway, the impact of that hammer into the core triggered the aforementioned largest nuclear disaster ever recorded. Illinois is a wasteland now. The Great Lakes are poisoned, the Missouri River is poisoned, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana were greatly affected, as well as, of course, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Then Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York were affected mostly via Lake Erie and Lake Ontario and Canada. Not all of those places are destroyed or anything. It just affected mostly by water flow and the wind carrying the massive amount of fallout. Minnesota, 22 million people died. Not just in Minnesota, that's actually mostly Illinois. Sorry, Illinois. Rest in peace. And I think it's obvious that the main person, the main guy, to take the blame and pay the price for this horrific atrocity is President Christ. Number 2, the United States Elevation Plan. In mid-2018, President Christ and his council started to workshop an idea. The crux of it was something physically bigger is automatically perceived as more powerful. A statement which is obviously true, with major exceptions, but perception-wise mostly true. From that came more extrapolations of increasingly tenuous, obscure, and obtuse logic until Christ himself came to the inevitable conclusion that they must geographically heighten the continental United States and, if need be, geographically lower Mexico and Canada for an appropriately castrating stretch of land. Around 200 miles, give or take it, 100 at points, along the border, same on the U.S. side. That's how much they'd augment the land. This unprecedented plan was enacted when Christ literally paid for the aforementioned land out of pocket, and then with credit for an ultimate and equally unprecedented $1.1 trillion. Because who's going to send a debt collector after Jesus? He bought multiple major cities as well as the highways that connected them, of course, and thereby annexed them into the United States, and solely for the quote unquote construction period. Afterwards, to be sold back in the weakened state, all as a power play. The terrified Mexican and Canadian governments could not be presumed to match the terror of the citizens within the, at the time, unspecified area of destruction. Many were unable to move out of, due to poverty. Move out of the area due to poverty, As a result, entire villages were blown up by the U.S. military, or perhaps even more troublingly, personally bulldozed by construction crews. After Christ's inevitable re-election, the same thing happened when they elevated the U.S. along the border. An originally unspecified 200 to 300 miles deep into the country was raised. Protests were fuel for more militarized police to walk the streets, now in towns that weren't even being razed. Architecture was only saved by construction workers unwilling to destroy certain landmarks and unique buildings. Corpses were forgotten in mass graves that would then be covered with hundreds of tons of chat, concrete, trash, anything to take up space. How they used the corpses as space. The resulting cliffs made crossing the border impossible for a time, though large lifts and staircases were recently installed. In multiple meetings with world leaders, the Mexican and Canadian president and prime minister, respectively, were seen crying upon receiving disturbing glances and cold statements from President Christ around this time. In both countries, within seconds of the destroyed areas being returned, survivors were met with billions of dollars worth of first aid, physical therapy, and overall medical support. As of today, Mexico and Canada have begun to build thick defensive walls that will extend past the height of the artificial cliffs. Since 2024, President Pattinson has been virulent in his efforts to help Canada and Mexico and otherwise mend fences, but the respective governments have declined to meet with Pattinson out of fear. Airborne packages containing American food, water, and memorabilia were met with cease and desist letters. Due to this, Pattinson's efforts mainly include aid to the survivors of the Elevation Plan in the U.S., survivors of sunken colonized territories, and to the survivors of and nuclear climate control of the nuclear ghost incident. Needless to say, frequent earthquakes rattled the continent much more regularly due to this terraforming. 67,004,329 people were murdered in the effort to make America scary again. It worked. And at number one, we have damning everyone on earth and beyond to hell. This one is pretty self-explanatory, in one of many inflammatory and mandatory addresses. President Christ said the following: humans are no fucking good. I died for you, and then I came back after centuries of floating these forests as a vengeful spirit, before finding a family evil enough for me to stoop to inhabit one of their sons. This body you see before you. I died for you, and you made me evil. You know what? There is no God. Just me and mindless beasts. And I'm fucking evil. I dominate with my power. I dominate with my power over these beasts. That's right, you fuckers. There is no God, so stop praying. I sure as hell won't be answering it. But hey, God isn't real, but hell is, and I damn every person to it. I personally damn all 8 billion of you degenerates to hell. It loops like a big cunt fucker. It's a gigantic cocksucker with teeth that will blow your brains I damn you, I damn you, I damn you, I damn you. No one deserves happiness. Your fucking shit didn't give me shit. You don't deserve it. Eat my shit, you know. No one deserves it. I don't deserve it. I live in a fucking coffin. Damn every one of you. I'm gonna go through the list of every people and damn, 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 damn. Every one of you to my good hell, my good hell, my good hell. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. This is the Christ you wanted. This is the Christ you wanted. As Christ I can really be, yeah, 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 fucker. Christ can really fuck you. This continues for 3 hours. It has been reported that he has indeed caused every person that dies to end up in Spiderland. As vast as it is, I've personally happened upon the increased number of spirits, and they are definitely not as truly depraved as a lot of the souls that ended up there previously. For reference, this space consists of a slow sort of a loop of suffering that, at least for dead souls, is inescapable. Most of it takes the form of logically connected rooms. Of course, if you are touched by Jesus in life, as I have been, you can traverse to Spiderland as freely as his touch permits. Eternal suffering for 8 billion, and the humiliation of a hell lineage for their children and grandchildren. President Pattinson has officially apologized for all this, as well as President Christ's general conduct. Francis was a vice president for Christ's second term. This is what he had to say. I knew he had done unsavory things in his first term, but I thought I could influence the government into a more positive direction, advocate for change in a diplomatic way, healthily debate with my president, but that is not how Jesus Christ saw the arrangement at all. He had no respect for democracy, and now that he's dead I can say that he was a horrible president, and I sat by in terror with some of the things that he did. I saw what he did to Justin Beaker. On that alone, I'm not the same person. You find me culpable, fine. Try being in my shoes. See what you could have done. Okay, can we move on to another question, please? End quote. Jesus Christ was assassinated on the day before Election Day 2024. He was killed almost the exact same way he was killed the first time. Torture, stigmatic cross. Even down to the spear in his side and a crown of thorns. The crowd were dedicated to their irony. Thanks for listening to me talking about the traumatizing events I've lived through. Luckily in Oklahoma, I'm far away from the elevation discrepancy and the Illinois wasteland. Still, a person alive in Christ America is far a person that probably doesn't want to be alive. Thank you.